Are your car's brakes squealing for mercy every time you apply them while driving, but your local mechanic wants to charge you over $500 for a simple brake job? Well, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you the full in-depth process of how you can replace your car's brake pads and rotors all on your own for a little over $100. For more on every step of the car flipping process, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next weekly video. My name is Benjamin McShannock and welcome back to Ben Flips Cars. Now, don't be afraid to do a brake job on your car yourself. Even if you have little to no experience working on cars, it's one of the easiest maintenance jobs to do on a car, and it's fairly difficult to mess up. Don't listen to people who try and scare you by saying things like it's too dangerous and that your brakes are too important to risk messing up. I'm betting anyone who says things like this has probably actually never done a brake job on a car themselves in their life. Just be sure to follow all these steps carefully and you'll have no issues. If you somehow do, just go back and watch this video again to try and figure out what's gone wrong, or leave a comment if you're having any issues and I'll get back to you. So with all that being said, the first step is to loosen the wheel nuts or lug nuts of whichever pair of wheels that you're going to be replacing the brakes for. Beware, some lug nuts have plastic covers which can deceivingly look like actual nuts, but if you try and twist these off, either a socket won't fit or the nut covers will just break. So just pry them off gently with something like a flathead screwdriver first. In my case, I'm replacing the front pads and rotors. Typically the pads and rotors are replaced in pairs, either the front pair like I'm doing today or the rear pair. But don't panic if you're doing the rear set. It's usually the exact same process for both the front and the rear brake pads and rotors. With those nuts loosened off, it's time for us to do the second step, which is to get the pair of wheels that we're replacing the brakes for up off the ground. Start by chocking the other set of wheels, in my case the rears, for extra insurance to stop the car from rolling away. Unfortunately, I don't have any wood or bricks with me here, so I'm using the back end of my ramps as it's the best I can do. Also ensure that the car's handbrake is on and that the car's in park or first gear for some added security. Then begin jacking the car up from a sturdy thick point in the frame. This part of the frame has no problem holding the weight of the car as you jack it up, and you won't punch a hole straight through the floor of the car with your jack. Once the wheels are in the air, slide a jack stand under a strong part of the car's frame. You can check your car's owner's manual if you're not sure where to put them, and raise the stands up so they lock into place under the frame. And then extremely slowly and carefully lower the car down onto the jack stands until they have full support of the vehicle's weight. Then raise the jack back up slightly so it's pressing lightly against a strong part of the car's frame, and this will give us a little added security in the unlikely situation should one of the jack stands fail. And finally, with the car now off the ground, just go and give it a good shake to ensure it's nice and sturdy and it's not going to fall as you're working on it. With the car's wheels safely off the ground, step 3 is to remove the lug nuts that we've already loosened off. The reason we loosened them before raising the car is because if they were still tight and we tried to loosen them with the wheel in the air, the wheel would just spin. With those lug nuts removed, we can pull the wheel off and slide it under the car for another layer of insurance against the jack stands failing. Ensure you do the same with the wheel on the other side also. And with the wheel removed, we now have access to the car's brakes. Step 4 is to open up and remove the shell of the caliper here. And what we can do to make this a lot easier is to turn the steering so that the caliper bolts are facing out towards us like this. Gives us much easier to these bolts that we're trying to get access to. Then there are typically 2 bolts holding the shell of the caliper closed. You should be able to break them free with a ratchet, and once they're broken loose, undo them the rest of the way. With those 2 bolts removed, we should be able to open up our caliper. Sometimes it takes a little force, and prying it with a flathead screwdriver or pry bar can help. With the caliper shell removed, you don't want it just hanging by the brake line. So you want to hang this up somewhere if you can. I've got a nice little part of the suspension that I can hook this up onto. If you don't have a nice little spot that you can hook it up to like that, then you're going to want to either zip tie it or hang it in place somehow with a hook. Either way, just make sure that there's no pressure being put on this brake line here. You want no tension on that. And with that caliper shell out of the way, we now have access to our brake pads here. And so step 5 is we just want to slide out the brake pads, which is super simple. They literally just slide on out. That's one, and bang, that's the other. Super simple. As said, they just slide on out. Step 6 is to remove the brake caliper bracket so that we can get access to the brake rotor. Similar to the caliper shell, there's just 2 larger bolts holding the bracket in place. Let's break these loose with a breaker bar as they're very tight. If you don't have a breaker bar, spray a bit of WD-40 onto the bolts and give them some time to soak. Then hopefully you should be able to break them free with a ratchet. Then loosen them the rest of the way with your ratchet. With those 2 bolts out of the way, the bracket should slide right out. which we can put aside. And with the caliper bracket removed, we now have access to the brake rotor. Step 7 is to remove the brake rotor. In this case, we have a small T30 Torx screw holding it in place. So let's start by removing that. Some cars don't have the screw, and the brake rotor should ideally slide right off. If not, give the rotor a few whacks with a hammer until it breaks loose, then you should be able to slide it off. In my case, I came up with what I thought was this fairly clever push system with this steering wheel puller I had laying around, and I used that to pry the rotor off as it was stuck on pretty badly, and even a few whacks with the hammer wasn't loosening it up. Before installing the new rotor, we want to clean and prime this hub surface here so we can ensure the new rotor sits flush to this hub and also doesn't seize up to the hub over time. If the rotor doesn't sit flush to the hub, it could cause vibrations and shudders under braking and could even warp your rotors over time. So step 8 is with a metal wire brush or sandpaper, scrub away the dirt and rust from the hub surface. Keep this up until the surface is relatively smooth, flat and rust free, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Then with a bucket or a drain pan underneath, hit the hub with some brake cleaner to clean off any remaining brake dust or residue. Once the brake cleaner dries off, add a thin layer of Antiseize to the entire hub surface. This will ensure the rotor doesn't get stuck to the hub over time and will make removing the rotor next time much easier. Just make sure you keep the Antiseize to the hub of the wheel, avoid getting it on the threads, and whatever you do, try to not get any of the Antiseize on any of the brake parts, being the pads or rotors. In the worst case scenario, it could cause brake failure. I'd recommend swapping your gloves out after applying the Antiseize. With the hub surface ready for our new brake rotor, there's also some prep we need to do to the new rotor itself. Brake rotors are stored with a thin coating of oil to stop them from rusting, and we need to clean this oil off before installing the new brake rotor. So step 9 is to simply spray some brake cleaner onto the rotor and wipe away the oil with a paper towel. Make sure you do this all over the rotor and on both sides of the rotor. Now have a look at all that oil that came off into the paper towel. We obviously don't want that interfering with our braking performance. With both the hub surface and the rotor properly cleaned and prepared, step 10 is to install the new rotor. And we bought these front pair of rotors for about $90. The rotor simply slides on. Just make sure that if you have a screw like mine, the screw hole on both the rotor and the hub surface are lining up. And of course, don't forget to reinstall the screw. Snug it down, but don't over tighten it or strip it. And there you go, with our new brake rotor installed, it's time to start reassembling the brake caliper. Are there any tips or tricks so far that I've missed with the brake job? Comment below with your tips or tricks. I'm only a YouTube mechanic that likes to solve problems, so I'm always keen to learn more from others on how I can do these sort of jobs even better. If you'd like to learn how to replace your car's brake hoses and bleed your car's brakes, I have a video on doing this, which I'll pop up in the corner for you to check out after you finish watching this video. Step 11 is to clean the caliper bracket the exact same way we clean the wheel hub surface. First, remove these 2 hardware clips and then scrub the bracket down with the metal wire brush and then spray it down with brake cleaner. Then, like the hub surface, put a thin layer of Antiseize where the new clips are going to go so that they don't get stuck on the caliper bracket over time. Finally, install the 2 new metal clips, which should have come with the new brake pads that you've got. Step 12 is to pull these 2 caliper guide pins out. Because the caliper slides along these, we want these to be smooth, rust-free, and well lubricated. So do these guide pins one at a time because you're not meant to cross them over. Usually one goes in one particular side of the caliper bracket. To clean the old dirty grease off these guide pins, some brake cleaner and a paper towel will do just fine. If they're rusty, remove the rust with a metal wire brush and then hit them with the brake cleaner again. Otherwise, we can just apply some new silicone paste to the pins before reinstalling them into the caliper bracket. Don't use any petroleum-based lubricants as they'll break down the rubber boot around the guide pins over time. Silicone paste is the proper lubricant to use here, or brake caliper grease, which is silicone-based. With both caliper guide pins reinstalled and the rubber boot reseated correctly, the pins should move in and out nice and freely. And with the caliper bracket all lubricated and cleaned up, it's ready to go back onto the car. Step 13 is to reinstall the caliper bracket, so slide that back into place so that the 2 bolt holes at the back line up. Then before reinstalling the 2 bolts that hold the caliper bracket in place, apply some medium strength thread locker to the threads. This will help stop vibrations from loosening these bolts while driving. Then start the 2 bolts by hand and then tighten them down basically as tight as you can with the ratchet. If you have a torque wrench, the specific torque figure for this Holden Cruise is 75 foot-pounds. For step 14, there's a few spots that we want to add some lubrication to before installing the new brake pads. We just want to add a thin little layer of copper anti-seize onto the caliper bracket where the new brake pads are going to be sliding up against it, which of course in this case is the new metal hardware clips. So get a little bit of copper anti-seize on those, top and bottom, and both sides of the rotor. It's only going to slide against the outside edges of these clips, so that's where we're going to apply the anti-seize. Plus this leaves a nice little gap between the anti-seize and the brake rotors, because remember, it's important that we don't get anti-seize on the rotor. So you just want a thin layer on the top and bottom on both sides of the brake rotor. You also want to add a thin layer of that anti-seize to the back of each of the new brake pads. Just make sure you don't of course apply it to the actual pad itself that connects with the rotor, as this is going to cause all the same issues that we mentioned as if you were to put anti-seize on that brake rotor. Now with everything lubricated, step 15 is to install the new brake pads, and we bought the front set with the hardware for around $30. For many cars, either brake pad can go on either side, but for this car, the pad with the squealer or brake wear warning indicator, which is that little metal piece, goes specifically on the inside of the brake rotor, because that puts that metal piece at the front of the pad, which is the correct way to do it when installing a brake pad with the metal wear warning indicator. So ensure you check for if the pads need to go on a specific side of the caliper bracket. The pads simply slide into place and sit in the caliper bracket up against the brake rotor. And with our pads in place, we're going to want to reinstall our caliper shell. But first, there's a crucial step we have to take with the caliper shell, otherwise it won't fit in place back over our new thick brake pads. To get it so that the caliper shell will fit over our new thicker brake pads, step 16 is to compress this brake piston back into the caliper. First, we want to just clean off this edge around the brake piston so that when we compress it back into the caliper, this dirt doesn't get pushed back in with it. This dirt could contaminate the brake fluid within the lines or damage the seal between the piston and the caliper. So spray a small amount of brake clean onto a towel and then pull the rubber boot back slightly and do your best to clean off that piston. Then with the piston clean, grab one of the old brake pads and put it up against the piston, and then with an inexpensive brake piston compression tool, or in this case I'm using a steering wheel puller which works the exact same way, begin turning to compress the piston back until the old pad bottoms out and won't push the piston back any further. With the piston compressed back into the caliper shell should have no problem sliding over our new thick brake pads. With that being said, step 17 is to reinstall the caliper shell. Slide it carefully over the brake pads, being sure you don't knock them out of place. Then line up the bolt holes and reinstall the 2 bolts that hold the caliper shell in place. Similar to the bracket bolts, we want to add a little medium strength thread locker before installing them. Start them by hand, tighten them down with a ratchet, and then if you have a torque wrench, down to 25 foot-pounds for this Holden Cruise. And with that, our brake job is all done. Just don't forget to do all the same steps with the brakes on the other side of the car. Now we just want to get our wheels back on the car and get the car back on the ground. And then there's one more very important thing we have to do to ensure that these new brakes work and that the car is safe to drive. Step 18 is to put our wheels back on properly, so slide the wheel on and then start all the lug nuts by hand. Then ratchet them down until the wheel is flush and snug with the hub and the nuts are snug on also. Then tighten those nuts as much as you can whilst the wheel's still in the air to ensure you tighten the wheel down evenly and do it in a star-cross pattern. Don't forget to do the wheel on the other side. Then raise the car just enough off the jack stands that you can drop them down and slide them away from the car, and then lower the car back onto the ground. Once the car is on the ground again, you want to tighten those lug nuts up as much as you can with the ratchet, again in a star-cross pattern to tighten everything down evenly. Do it twice just to double check. Again, if you have a torque wrench, the torque specs for the Holden Cruise is 100 foot-pounds for each lug nut. And I almost forgot, if your car has them, don't forget to put on the little plastic lug nut covers after you finish tightening down the lug nuts. And with the car back on the ground, the final crucial step you want to do is first start the car. Then you just want to pump the brakes until they start to feel firm and solid again. You'll notice they're soft at first because of how we push the piston back, and it takes several pumps for the piston to readjust into the appropriate position and for the pressure to build back up in the brake pedal. If you fail to do this before taking the car for a drive, you're not going to have full braking power, which is very dangerous. So whatever you do, do not miss this step. And with that, we can pat ourselves on the back. We've just saved hundreds of dollars by doing our own pads and rotors. And I bet we've even done a more thorough job than a lot of mechanics would do as well. Once again, if you missed my video on replacing your car's brake hoses and bleeding your car's brakes, it should be up on screen now. If you have any questions, please drop it in a comment below or to message me directly. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, also at Ben Flips Cars. Drop a like to help me out with the YouTube algorithm and subscribe so you don't miss the next weekly video. My name's Benjamin McShannick, and thank you very much for watching Ben Flips Cars.